Live from WTOC, the Southeast News leader. The News Now starts on WTOC Plus.
Thanks for joining us this afternoon on WTOC Plus. We do start with an alert as the intersection of MLK Jr. Boulevard and Liberty Louisville Road is currently closed. It's due to a span wire failure. That's according to the city of Savannah. You can see this picture of the scene from earlier this afternoon, just about an hour and a half, 2 hours ago. City officials are asking drivers to avoid the area. We'll, of course, update you once it is back open. Well, 3 people were injured in a car crash at North Tatnall Elementary School this morning. It happened just after 7 a.m. on Highway 23. Firefighters and emergency medical personnel found one person entrapped and 2 others in separate cars when they got to the scene. The rescue team had to use the jaws of life to free the trapped person. Fire officials said all of them received medical attention before being transported to local hospitals. And according to the Reedsville Fire Department, one person had to be life-flighted to a Savannah hospital via helicopter. The Georgia State Patrol is investigating the cause of this accident. On Parris Island, federal law enforcement will be stationed during recruit family and graduation days. That's according to this message that's now displayed across the Parris Island website. It says, quote, due to increased force protection measures and to expedite enhanced base access procedures, federal law enforcement personnel will be present at installation access points during recruit family and graduation days. Well, a Savannah property owner says they're now being required to build their home nearly 6 feet off the ground, and neighbors who live next door are voicing their concerns. This higher elevation rule comes from a base flood elevation, or BFE, meaning the level floodwaters are expected to reach during a storm. Flood maps created by the Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA, set those elevation levels, which vary from property to property. Normally, the BFE is between 10 and 12 feet above sea level. Now, the city of Savannah has additional standards and recently adopted a stricter elevation requirement for new or heavily renovated homes, requiring builders to add 2 more feet to that BFE. Jack Sanders and his wife have lived on Edison Avenue for nearly 50 years, right next to a property under construction. Both properties are in a low to moderate flood zone, according to FEMA, but city surveys cite the area as a higher flood risk. Now, we spoke with the property owner building the new home, who said in order to build, the city said his home must be 6 feet off the ground and have a retention pond in his backyard.
The gentleman who purchased the piece of property, he don't want to spend that kind of money. It cost him more money to build it off the ground. And he knows that. He wished that he could go back to a slab or even no more than 2 feet. A slab would be, because all these houses are slabs.
Savannah's floodplain administrator shared the homeowner could have contracted a licensed surveyor or engineer at their own cost to reevaluate the property, but the assessment doesn't guarantee that height requirement will be lowered. Well, if you need help paying your cooling bill, assistance is opening up for seniors in Chatham County. The Economic Opportunity Authority will begin taking applications for the Low-Income Home Energy Assistance Program tomorrow afternoon, at 7 p.m. The program is for low-income residents aged 65 and older, as well as those who are homebound. Officials say demand will be high and appointments will go quickly.
The thing that people may not understand is that with as many people in Chatham County who may qualify, those appointments will probably be taken up probably by 7:15 a.m. That's it.
Again, calls open tomorrow at 7 p.m. and spots could be gone within a matter of minutes. Applicants must meet income guidelines and bring required documents to their appointment at the EOA building. Well, right now, state lawmakers are struggling to find common ground on a bill that they must pass every year. Members of the House and Senate remain at odds over the budget. The most recent changes from the Senate include adding money for public colleges, disability waivers, and literacy coaches. Governor Kemp downplayed the tension, telling reporters both chambers worked over the weekend trying to find a compromise. Well, there are new developments in the case of Charlie Kirk's alleged assassin. Tyler Robinson is accused of killing the conservative activist at a campus event last September, but now his lawyers are claiming that the fatal bullet may not match the gun allegedly used in the crime. Carter Evans has the story.
It's been nearly 7 months since conservative political activist Charlie Kirk was shot and killed during a Utah Valley University campus event on September 10th last year. Now, attorneys for Tyler Robinson, the man charged in Kirk's killing, are asking to delay his preliminary hearing to review a mountain of material they say could help his defense. In a new court filing, the defense claims in an ATF report summary that the agency, quote, was unable to identify the bullet recovered at autopsy to the rifle allegedly tied to Mr. Robinson.
Doesn't mean that those bullets aren't the same or that they aren't connected. It just means there isn't enough evidence there to come to a conclusion.
CBS News legal contributor Jessica Levinson says this is not unusual.
It is sometimes difficult to match bullets that were recovered at autopsy with bullets that are associated with a defendant's gun. And that could be based on lack of evidence and lack of markings on those bullets.
Robinson has been charged with aggravated murder in Kirk's death. He has not yet entered a plea. Prosecutors intend to seek the death penalty.
Robinson hid the gun and told his roommate to delete incriminating text messages.
Prosecutors allege Robinson admitted to killing Kirk in those text exchanges.
Roommate, you weren't the one who did it, right? Robinson, I am. I'm sorry.
Prosecutors also say they have DNA evidence that connects Robinson to the killing. Levinson says the inability to conclusively match the bullet won't necessarily damage the prosecution's case.
The prosecution has other evidence to rely on. This does not completely undermine their case.
Carter Evans, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Well, this is new this afternoon. A new report from the Martin County, Florida Sheriff's Office is revealing details about Tiger Woods' crash in Florida late last week. Deputies say Woods had bloodshot, glassy eyes with slow, lethargic movements and told them he had taken prescription medication earlier that morning. The report also notes hydrocodone pills were found in his pocket. Neither Woods nor the other driver was injured. Well, the Atlanta Braves are off to a hot start, but there are more than 150 games left this season, and the motto for the Braves this season is probably one you've heard before: next man up. Injuries all over the roster have forced new Braves manager Walt Weiss to have to mix and match. However, there is some good news on the horizon. Weiss says that starting today, Sean Murphy will be with the Rome Braves as he recovers from hip surgery. Spencer Strider is also progressing and expected to throw live bullpen when the team hits the road. Saturday night's hero Dominic Smith says the goal stays the same no matter who's on the field.
I think this team has been motivated since day one, since I've been here, since spring training. We knew what the goal was, and that's to go out, that's to compete at a high level, and that's to get back to the playoffs and World Series. So everybody is not, content with anything that we've done over the weekend. We know that it's a new day, and it's time to go to work, and we're all prepared and ready to go for the fight.
Well, just a few minutes ago, NASA held a pre-launch briefing on Artemis 2. NASA is set to send 4 astronauts on a 9-day trip around the moon and back. Here's an extended look at that pre-launch update ahead of tomorrow.
All right, and good afternoon, everyone, and welcome, and thanks for joining us today. We are a little over 29 hours from our opening of the launch window tomorrow, and I am very excited myself, and just coming from the firing room just a little bit ago on my way over here, talked to a bunch of members of the team, and I'll say, normally when we're in the firing room working over there, folks have got their heads down and they're working and they doing all the business that we do of the space business, but I'll say there was a lot of smiles today, so felt really good about that. As the team is preparing, I think everybody's pretty excited and understands the significance of this launch. We did talk to the flight crew last night. We had a briefing with them. We had another one just a little bit before I went down to the firing room. We had another briefing with them. Last night was just to kind of go over the day of launch routine with them and kind of a refresher for ourselves and for them, and that went really well. They were in great spirits. And then we had another briefing today just to talk about how the launch countdown was going, and as we'll talk here in a little bit, it's been going really well. Let's see. Since Charlie spoke to you yesterday, we've got quite a bit of work done. We started out yesterday. The first thing we do usually is fill up the sound suppression systems with water, and when we start working on getting the liquid oxygen, liquid hydrogen systems ready for our propellant loading that's coming up in the future. We did power up all of the vehicles. We powered up the Orion core stage as well as the ICPS yesterday. We did communication checks, RF checkouts on the systems, and then after that we got through all of that work. Then we went ahead and powered down the ICPS because there was no more work for them until later tonight when we power ICPS back up. But of course, core stage and Orion stay powered up through the remainder account. Today we got launch pad ground system configurations in work. We're doing closeouts in a number of areas. We're doing walk downs as we work through the pad to make sure everything is configured for launch. We're also in work on the late stow right now. We should be getting the Avatar and the bags that we're doing in the late stow going up. They were prepping them in the PTCR down in below the pad terminal changeout room, which is the area beneath the pad where we have some rooms, and getting those ready to go up, and they should be being installed as we speak. And then let's see, tonight we're going to be doing a whole lot of other work as we get ready to clear the pad. We do have some work associated with the Orion ground equipment and systems that we use to do the leak checks on the crew suits. And so we'll be working those later tonight to configure those and check them out and make sure they're ready for when we hook up to the crew on launch day. We'll be powering up some of the Orion guidance systems later tonight as well. We do intend to clear personnel from the pad at about 3 in the morning at that point. And then we'll get ready for our air to GN2 changeover at about 4 in the morning. We do that. We purge the vehicle with air routinely for the whole flow. Once we get to this point where we're getting ready to add hazardous propellants like hydrogen, for example, we change over to GN2 to have an inert environment for safety purposes on the vehicle and all of the volumes that are on there. Let's see, later, once we get through the air to GN2 changeover and all the other work is done, our launch director will have a final weather brief, and once we get out of that, she'll signal the team that we are ready to start our propellant loading, and that's scheduled to occur at about 7:34 tomorrow morning. That loading takes a little over 5.5 hours. We'll work through that. As mentioned yesterday by the launch director, we have inserted some time in front of that propellant loading time frame, so that if we are in fact done with all of the work and are ready to go and we can start a little bit early, like a few minutes, we will try to take that and take every bit of time that we can to get ready and prepared for the crew and be prepared for anything else that might happen. So we did that purposefully to give ourselves a little bit of room in that time frame based on the launch director's guidance.
All right, so that was the opening of that pre-launch briefing that happened less than 30 minutes ago. This has been pretty interesting to follow. The launch window does open tomorrow just around noon. Whenever it does launch, the forecast is looking good, so fingers crossed for tomorrow. We, of course, will have that launch live here on WTOC Plus, as well as the post-launch briefing, which is scheduled to happen shortly after that, potentially mid to early afternoon, maybe even around this time tomorrow. But this is the first time that humans have gone to the moon in over 50 years. They're not landing on the moon, but it's what's called a flyby mission. So they're essentially going to rocket around the Earth and then fly around the moon and then come back to the Earth over that 9-day mission. A really interesting thing to follow, and of course, it's all kind of part of a setup to actually put humans back on the moon. NASA's hoping to do that in 2028. All right, well, before we sign off here on WTOC Plus, fun story that we first brought you back in November or December. You might remember the kid who got the Jimmy Jammies for Christmas. A 5-year-old boy from New Jersey got the private tour of his dreams yesterday, visiting the Carter Center in Georgia. Joshua Skinner with our sister station has the story of Ryan Ramos, who's Jimmy Carter's #1 fan.
It's not your normal vacation.
This is Ryan.
But it can be just as exciting. Ryan Ramos is Jimmy Carter's biggest fan at just 5 years old.
I have a Jimmy Carter cutout.
He's been waiting a long time for this.
I am so excited. It's Jimmy Carter Day.
Ryan's fascination began President's Day 2024, culminating in a Jimmy Carter-themed 5th birthday party. A road trip from New Jersey to Atlanta was the next logical step.
How many Jimmy Carter shirts did we pack for this trip?
5.
That's how this private tour of the Carter Center came to be.
It was his spring break, and they said they wanted to come down.
But for Ryan, the appeal of Carter isn't political at all, but rather his generosity and life motto.
Be kind.
We're going to be kind to everybody.
The greatest thing that you can do with your time on this earth is to help people.
And that's what Ryan, already involved with Habitat for Humanity, hopes he can bring to the world too.
Is this your dream come true? Yeah.
At the Carter Center, Joshua Skinner, Atlanta News First.
All right, that's pretty cool. And with that, we're going to wrap things up this afternoon for the news on WTOC Plus. Thanks for making us part of your day. We'll be back in about 40 minutes for Welcome to Our Community with the one and only Dawn Baker, now a Hall of Famer with the Georgia Association of Broadcasters as of last Friday. So she'll join us at 3 o'clock on WTOC and right here on WTOC Plus. But until then, we'd like to thank you all for watching, and here's Local News Live.